Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name's Jordan, and this all took place years ago back when I was in college. Madison and I had been close friends for about 2.5 years before I finally worked up the courage to ask her out. We first met during our sophomore year at State University, introduced through a study group for our economics class. What began as a simple academic partnership gradually turned into a genuine friendship. We'd grab coffee between classes, send each other random texts, and eventually started hanging out on weekends. My feelings for her weren't immediate. It was more of a slow build that crept up on me over time. I caught myself eagerly waiting for her messages, or feeling strangely disappointed when she couldn't make it to our usual meetups. By the time junior year was ending, I was completely smitten, but I kept insisting to myself that it was just friendship. The tricky part was that Madison was naturally warm and kind with everyone. Her easy smiles and friendly gestures left me constantly second-guessing. Did she see me as anything more than another friend? Our bond felt effortless. Conversations flowed without effort, and she often asked for my thoughts on things, making me feel like she genuinely valued what I had to say. But I couldn't stop analyzing every little thing. If she laughed at my jokes, was it because she actually thought I was funny, or just being polite? When she wanted to hang out, did that mean something more, or was I reading too much into it? Even late-night texts left me wondering if I was special, or if she shared those little thoughts with everyone. The breaking point came one Thursday evening at the start of senior year. We were at a house party, and I noticed her talking all night with a guy I'd seen around campus. They weren't flirting outright, but watching her lean in when he spoke and laugh at his jokes was enough to make me realize I couldn't keep torturing myself. Either I needed to finally take a chance, or start distancing myself before things became unbearable. That night, walking back to my apartment, I made a decision that scared me more than anything else had. I'd been living in this limbo far too long, always wondering, always hoping, always searching for hidden signs. It wasn't fair to me, and honestly, it wasn't fair to her either. Our friendship carried an unspoken tension that I was responsible for. Still, the idea of asking her out terrified me. She was such a big part of my daily life. If she turned me down, I'd still see her in class, on campus, and with our group of friends. The awkwardness would be unbearable, but I decided to push through the fear anyway. I spent the whole weekend rehearsing different ways to ask her. I must have gone over 50 different versions in my head, trying to balance sincerity with casualness. Too casual, and she might not even realize it was a real date. Too serious, and I risked overwhelming her. Finally, on Tuesday afternoon, I picked up the phone. I chose calling over texting. I wanted to hear her voice, to catch her immediate reaction. My heart was pounding as I invited her to dinner at her favorite restaurant that Friday. Just the two of us. To my complete surprise, she said yes right away. No hesitation, no checking her schedule, just a cheerful yes and what sounded like genuine excitement. For a moment, I wondered if I had been overthinking everything, that maybe she'd been waiting for me to ask. Those 3 days leading up to Friday were agonizingly slow. I changed my outfit multiple times, looked up conversation topics like I was preparing for an interview, and even practiced ways to tell her how I felt. A part of me thought she already knew, but another part feared I was about to ruin the most important friendship I had. When Friday arrived, I showed up to the restaurant early. I'd made a reservation, asked for a quiet table, and even checked the menu beforehand to avoid awkward pauses. At exactly 7:30, Madison walked in, and my breath caught. She looked incredible, wearing a deep blue dress that highlighted her eyes, her hair styled in loose waves instead of the casual ponytail I was used to. She had clearly put in extra effort, and the way she smiled when her eyes landed on me made my heart race. Dinner started off perfectly. The conversation flowed effortlessly, as it always did, but something about the mood felt different. Maybe it was a candlelight, maybe the atmosphere, or maybe just the fact that we both knew this wasn't just a casual hangout. She seemed more animated, laughing harder, holding eye contact longer, asking me questions she'd never asked before. We shared appetizers. She ordered the salmon while I went with the ribeye, and she kept complimenting the restaurant choice, saying she wanted to try for months. She seemed impressed that I'd thought to make a reservation. All night, I kept waiting for the right moment to confess my feelings. During appetizers felt too early. During the main course seemed risky. It could ruin the meal. I decided dessert would be the time. When the waiter asked, Madison immediately said yes to splitting the chocolate cake. While she slipped away to the restroom, I braced myself. This was it, the moment I'd been building toward for months. She returned. We shared the dessert, and as she took her last bite, I finally spoke. I told her how much our friendship had meant to me, how it had been one of the most meaningful parts of my college experience. Then I admitted that my feelings had grown into something deeper. I told her I hadn't wanted to jeopardize our friendship, but I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I tried to be honest without sounding desperate, open without being overwhelming. But as I spoke, I could see her expression shift. The warmth in her face dimmed, her posture change, leaning back slightly, her hands folding in her lap, her eye contact breaking more often. I already knew the answer before she even spoke. She listened quietly, then responded carefully. She told me she cared about me deeply, but only as a friend. She'd never seen me in a romantic way and didn't want to risk our friendship by complicating it. She added that she wasn't in the right place for a relationship anyway, with graduation and job applications looming. She emphasized it wasn't about me, that I was a great friend and would make someone very happy someday, just not her. When she finished, she looked at me, maybe expecting me to argue or plead for another chance. Instead, I simply smiled. A genuine smile. I thanked her for being honest, told her I was glad I'd asked, and that I respected her answer. Then I signaled for the check. She looked surprised. She even tried to pay for her half, but I insisted. After all, I was the one who had asked her out. After paying, I walked her to her car. She seemed unsure how to end the night, but I kept it simple with a friendly hug and a see you around. No lingering, no awkward attempt to plan another hangout. The drive home felt strangely calm. Yes, I was disappointed, but I wasn't crushed. For months, I'd been carrying the weight of uncertainty, dissecting every interaction. Now, I finally had clarity, and that clarity felt freeing. The next 2 days, I settled into the new reality surprisingly well. No overthinking, no rehearsing text to win her over. I caught up on assignments, went to the gym, and enjoyed spending time with my roommate, fully present for the first time in months. It felt like I'd been holding my breath all this time, and now I could finally exhale. Then Sunday evening, Madison called. Her name lit up my phone, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No excitement, no nervous anticipation, just calm. I answered casually. She chatted at first, but I could tell she was working harder than usual to keep the conversation alive. I gave shorter answers without meaning to. Eventually, she asked if I was free to grab coffee like we usually did. I told her I was busy. That's when her tone shifted. She asked directly if things had changed between us. I told her I was fine, but really did have things to do. Then she grew serious. She began apologizing for rejecting me, saying she'd been second-guessing herself all weekend. She admitted she hadn't expected me to accept her decision so easily, and it had thrown her off. She said the date had been so good before my confession, and maybe she dismissed the idea of us too quickly. I let her speak without interrupting. When she finished, there was silence. She was clearly waiting for me to jump in, to be thrilled she was reconsidering. Instead, I told her to forget I ever asked. I said she'd probably been right the first time, that we were better as friends, and I didn't want her to change her mind just because I hadn't reacted the way she expected. After I hung up, there were no follow-up texts, no attempts to rebuild what we had. And honestly, I didn't miss it. Looking back, I realized Madison had assumed I'd chase her, that I'd see rejection as something to fight through. But the truth is, respecting someone means accepting their answer the first time. Persistence isn't always romantic. Sometimes it's just ignoring boundaries. I also realized that what I thought was an incredible connection between us was, in many ways, in my own head, I'd built normal friendly interactions into something bigger, coloring everything with a romantic lens. Once that lens was gone, it was clear we didn't have the kind of bond that sustains real, lasting friendship. And that realization wasn't bitter. It was freeing. It taught me to set boundaries, to recognize the difference between genuine friendship and unspoken hope. Most importantly, it taught me self-respect. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do after rejection is accept it gracefully. Walk away with dignity. Because when you stop chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught, you free yourself of the people who truly want to be in your life. My advice? Believe people the first time. If they say no, accept it. If they change their mind, they'll let you know. Don't waste your energy trying to prove them wrong. The most attractive response you can give sometimes is silence, a smile, and walking away without bitterness.